Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So taking another fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening because we're playing the recently released 1.1 version of Blaster Master ported to Super Nintendo by Rumbleminze. And to say that Blaster Master is one of the best NES games of all time would be an understatement to me at least. I would say this is definitely within the top 25 best NES games of all time in my opinion. But honestly, playing it in 2024 with all of the original NES settings can feel like a little bit of a chore because this game can be slightly cruel and the amount of life it gives you and how you actually have to just kind of keep poking away at the game. So luckily Rumbleminze ported this to Super Nintendo with a ton of quality of life improvements, and I absolutely love to see that. Before I get too far involved, let me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But Blaster Master is just an iconic NES game, but it is iconically difficult, at least in my opinion. You only get a few lives, you only get a few continues, and then from there, you're basically almost back to square one. So it's one of those games that if you do play the NES original, it's so much better via emulation or on MiSTer FPGA where we can utilize save states. Because you'll see there, I jumped down into that grass to die just to show you a point. You can die in this game in so many new and creative ways. There's going to be items in the environment that will damage you that don't really visually indicate they're going to do so. So within the settings when you boot this game up, there's more than one color palette, but my favorite item so far is unlimited lives. Sure, you still need to be able to be good at the game, sure you still need to beat bosses, navigate the levels, and basically try to stay alive, but now you're not going to get sent back and lose progress based upon the amount of lives you have. You can also do a ton of different quality of life improvements on the overall power of the gun, giving you kind of a new control as to how to play this game. And I would say as far as the actual port is concerned, Rumbleminze did a 10 out of 10 job here as well. This just feels like a game running on Super Nintendo because that's exactly what it is. There aren't really any enhancements as far as MSU1 support are concerned. You're getting the exact same Blaster Master you know, love, and remember. You're getting the exact same soundtrack, and it sounds incredible on Super Nintendo, and I will give you guys a sound sample in a few minutes. But honestly, what this game did was kind of feel like Metroidvania way before Castlevania ever existed, because in something like Metroid, of course, you didn't have very many vehicles whatsoever, but here you obviously have your tank as well as your on-foot segments, and it feels so much fun. It's kind of like The Legend of Zelda combined together with Metroid in the same game, and if you compare a game to those two positively, you know you're in for a fun treat. And if for some strange reason you've never played Blaster Master before, I can't recommend it enough, and make Rumbleminze's new port of this game to Super Nintendo your de facto way to play because it is just that incredibly good. And the best part again is this port is spectacular. It doesn't try to change too much about the game. That's what I love about Rumbleminze's ports, along with Infidelity, who also does a very similar thing. It is Blaster Master, it looks like an NES game, it runs on the Super Nintendo, and it just gives you more control of how you can play the game. That is my favorite thing to do because a lot of people ask in the comments, why don't these port makers improve the graphics or change the sprites out? And while they totally could do that, that is different than Blaster Master. I love the original look, I love the original sound, and while MSU1 support would be fun in the future just to play around with, getting these games on a modern platform with a lot more granular control over how you want to experience them, to me is the perfect way to actually port these games over. That's totally fine if you guys want to have something like enhanced graphics, but when you guys leave comments down below just basically saying they don't understand why these ports exist, they exist because people can and want to make them. I advocate and celebrate every single port on the channel, and Blaster Master is definitely maybe my new favorite one of 2024, just down to the fact that it gives you unlimited lives if you want it. And do be aware that all of the quality of life improvements here are optional. By default, they're all going to be off, so if you just skip past everything, you're going to just be playing Blaster Master on Super Nintendo. But you can decide to turn all of them on, one of them on, change the color palette, which I did do. You get maximum control as to how you want to play the game, and I think that is a very good design ethos for these ports. If you just hit start, you get the original, but then from there you can play around with anything you want. So the developer hasn't decided for you how to play the game, they've just given you the ability to decide for yourself. And the music on Super Nintendo sounds amazing, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll be back with more of the port. Not only does Blaster Master have some iconic tracks, some of the best on the Nintendo in my opinion, but it sounds so good coming out of the Super Nintendo sound hardware because that's exactly what it's doing. And do be aware that Memblers is the person that wrote the sound emulation for this as well, so it isn't just Rumbleminze that does this or Infidelity that does it on their side. There's other people that help on the technology side of things, making this NES music come out of a Super Nintendo and for it to sound so well. And again, I just love how this port functions. This is not looking any different than it would look if you loaded up the NES core on MiSTer FPGA or original hardware. It just happens to be running on Super Nintendo. And just so you're aware, this works on MiSTer FPGA, it works on real hardware, it works via emulation as well on the software side of things. Every single item you could possibly throw at this game, it is going to run it and it's going to be amazing. For me, MiSTer FPGA is obviously the de facto, but I did try it on a flash card as well, and it loaded up perfectly fine. And as far as Blaster Master is concerned, again, I love the overall structure of the game. We beat a boss, we got an upgrade for our tank, so now we're going to have additional speed, which is going to aid us in later levels. And I love the mix-up of in-tank and out-of-tank as well. There's different areas that only you can go on foot, and those are kind of those Legend of Zelda style action levels. There's areas that you can get out of the tank in and go on foot, but it would be ill-advised because the tank's definitely going to give you a lot more covering fire and a lot more defense. And that again is just why this game is so epic in and of itself. Even with no port to Super Nintendo, even with no quality of life improvements, Blaster Master definitely is still one of my favorite NES games, and of course with save states and modern features you could kind of plug some of these cheats in as well, but having it all in one file on the Super Nintendo just works so much better for me. And again, if you've never played the game before, you're 100% missing out. This is just an all-time classic, and I hope to see more of these type of ports come over to Super Nintendo, but leave me a comment down below and you tell me what NES game, if you could snap your fingers and bring over to Super Nintendo without any work whatsoever, which game would you pick and what improvements would you like to come over? Because there's so many amazing NES games and so many of them have some insane difficulty. There's a ton of different options as far as what games could come next, but getting Blaster Master in and of itself is epic. And that's why these ports are always fun, and that's why I love making videos about them. It's always fun to celebrate what the community is doing out there to bring you more ways to enjoy your favorite games. And again, you can go on foot leaving your tank behind, but that would be ill-advised, because a Blaster Master port to Super Nintendo with quality of life improvements is not a necessary thing to do. I understand when you leave the comments asking why did somebody do this, because you think to yourself, well, I can just load this up on NES. That's because somebody loves the hardware and the games enough to try to make it more fun for everyone. And do be aware that the button configuration is slightly different because you have more buttons that you can use, so it can be ever so slightly easy to go back into area 1 there. But this is just one of those love letters to a game and a piece of hardware that I absolutely can't get enough of. And again, amazing soundtrack that sounds great on Super Nintendo. One more sound sample because I love the soundtrack, and I'll be right back with more. Just some absolutely awesome music that sounds great coming out of the Super Nintendo. Now, if you do want to play this game, I will leave a link to Rumbleminze's Blue Sky account down below, and you can pop over there and find it from him. And it seems like he's no longer on Twitter, at least for now, so that link is below. And let me know if you guys are using Blue Sky at all. I did park my name over there, and it seems like a few people are transitioning over, but honestly, the social media aspect of this is probably the hardest thing for me to do. I can rock these videos out, and I love doing it, and I can do it all day long, but the social media stuff, trying to build another following on another new platform can and will be confusing for me, because it's not one of those things. I spent a lot of time on Twitter, and obviously you still can find me there, but I am just curious, so leave me that information down below. And I know I got a little bit off track, but I just figured I would ask. But as far as the port from Rumbleminze of Blaster Master to the Super Nintendo, in my opinion, it's a 10 out of 10. I have absolutely no notes. It's the same incredible game from the NES brought to the Super Nintendo, giving you a ton of new options to play around with. And if you don't want to do any of that whatsoever, you can just run the game as stock. And I would probably say outside of the unlimited lives at the beginning of the game, I really do appreciate this different color palette, just a little bit richer of a tone, and it helps read a few of the items on screen just a little bit better visually than the original game did. But run, don't walk, grab this game, play it, enjoy it, and now you have unlimited lives, and that's going to be a big benefit for actually enjoying Blaster Master, because the game can definitely fight you. And again, if you love this, leave me a comment down below so I know to make more videos like it. But we are done. I will see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye bye.